Hey, I'm just maneuvering some things along here. Thank you both for being here this evening. My name is Tim Marco. I'm director of the Southern Regional Center for Children and Youth with Special Healthcare Needs. Just bring up the slideshow now, and then I will be happy to share that with you so that we can all enjoy it together. One moment. There we go. I have my chat up as well. All right, so hopefully you are now seeing the Care, a Medical Home series for families caring for the a medical home series for families. So again, my name is Tim Marco. I'm director of the Southern Regional Center. Tonight we're going to be talking about Assembling a Care Notebook. It's one of 4 different trainings that we have with the medical home series. The first is caring for the whole family. They don't really go in order, but then Assembling a Care Notebook, which we'll talk about tonight, requesting a shared plan of care, and exploring care mapping. We try to offer these a couple times a year. We haven't been overly successful with that. And so I'm really excited that you guys are here. But if you're interested, we will be scheduling caring for the whole family and requesting a shared plan of care and exploring care mapping a little bit in the future. So while I go ahead and talk a little bit about medical home, you don't need to put your name in the chat box, actually. I know who both of you are, and I've already marked you as here. And I put where you can find the handouts in the chat feature, so please feel free to go and utilize those. We'll have some more links that I'll click on a little bit later in this training, and we may not go the whole hour. We'll just have to wait and see. Before we dive into today's presentation, I do want to offer a little bit of context about who's providing this training. Is the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, through the Division of Public Health, administers programs that serve children with and without special health care needs. As you can see, we represent a wide variety of programs and services throughout the state of Wisconsin. The Title V program is a block grant from the federal government, where 1/3 of the money to the states has to be set aside for children and youth with special health care needs. Some of that money is then used to fund projects with the Special Health Care Needs Program. You will see we have many partners throughout Wisconsin, including Family Voices of Wisconsin. They have some wonderful fact sheets. They do great trainings on Did You Know Now You Know, an introduction to the healthcare system, to the system of care for children and youth with special health care needs and disabilities. They also do What's After High School, which is a great overview of life after high school. Parent to Parent in Wisconsin is a parent matching program that is national and actually international, where they train, support parents, and then parents who may not have the opportunity to talk or interact with parents, other parents with children with disabilities, can be connected to a parent like them, so that they can have support as well. This is really important in a lot of our rural areas. Wisconsin Medical Home is through Children's Health Alliance of Wisconsin. They are the ones who developed this training with the regional centers. Medical home is this concept that everybody, especially families who have children with special health care needs, should have a spot, a primary care provider or PCP clinic that they go to that knows who they are, understands their family, has accessible rooms and accessible scheduling, is in partnership with the family for the care of that child. And so it's pretty much the way that we think every family should be treated, is that every family should have a medical home. They should have that partner in healthcare. Now, various clinics are good partners to varying degrees. And so we work with families. The medical home then works with clinics to try to improve their ability to partner with families. ABC for Health is a public interest health firm that helps us with health benefits questions. And so we have those experts in our corner. Health Transition Wisconsin is our hub of expertise that deals with the transitioning as adolescents, young adults grow up and turn 18. Is their healthcare changes too? And a lot of times families don't realize that. Well, Badger is a statewide resource center. And then you'll see the 5 regional centers there. So we have 5 regional centers throughout Wisconsin. So wherever you're at, you have a regional center. So feel free, if you're not in Southern Center, which is where we are, the Southern Regional Center in Orange, feel free to jot down your name. We are here to talk to parents, to answer questions about what's going on in their journey, offer them support, try to give them other ideas about where they can find support, answer questions about the system of care, about where to find diagnosis services, about where to find support services. We can connect families then with experts in special education and people that know more about different areas, such as ABC for Health and health benefits, so that we have access to these people. We refer people to them quite regularly. But you can call us and say, hey, I don't know if this is a question for you, but this is my question. And we will definitely want to talk to you because it's what our information referral specialists do. So let's talk a little bit about medical home. So think in your mind, I told you a little bit about what medical home is. So some of the things that we like to consider is that it's a place where the family is at the center of the medical care, where their care is culturally sensitive, that it's coordinated. They help connect to the different referral systems within the care plans. And that they're there. What I really like to talk about is talking about that partnership, is that a medical home is a place where it's not where you go to get healthcare, but it's where you partner with somebody to maximize the health of your family. And that's whether a child has special healthcare needs or not, is when the medical care is done in coordination and partnership with the family, the outcomes are better. So medical home is the better way to do healthcare. In the future, we will be offering caring for the whole family. It's been put together by parents of children with special health care needs or disabilities, and we want to be able to share those tips and guidance. So I believe you both may be on the listserv for the resource roundup. That's where we send out the notification, but just keep an eye out for when those will be coming up in January. Let's talk a little bit about assembling a care notebook. So as we talk care notebooks, the first thing we have to talk about is why. Why would we want to have a care notebook? And I'm hoping that eventually we have a discussion, because I'm sure you guys already as parents are using some sort of system to organize. And that's one of the main things that a care notebook can do, is it can help you organize by keeping all those business cards that you get from the different doctors, from the different services, from the different medical equipment providers. All the business cards can go into one place. Put your test results in one place, the reports, that important information can all go in one place, so that if you're looking for something, you know a place that you can go to. The other thing is that it's a great place to keep a document such as an All About Me document, which includes sections about your child's strengths, their dreams, their hopes. A lot of times when we get into medical situations, we forget about our child's choices and our child's preferences and our child's strengths. And we want to always remember those. And so this is a place where we can put right at the front, these are the preferences of my child. This is what matters to them. This is what they want to be called. This is the arm that the IV goes into. And this is what they want to accomplish. This is why we're doing healthcare, why we want them healthy, so they can live their dreams, so they can have the life that they want to live. It also gives a place where if you have information that needs to be shared in multiple places, you can have that in a notebook or in some organization file that you can then be able to have a copy of it that you then pull out and you give it to school. Like if the school needs a copy of the glucose readings that they're not able to communicate with the doctor because of HIPAA laws or FERPA laws. HIPAA is the medical keeping everything secure, and FERPA is a very similar law for school and education, in that it protects our healthcare or our education information. And so there's permissions that are needed to share that. You as a parent have the right to share information wherever you feel it is appropriate. And so if you think the school should have a copy of a test result, then you can give the school a copy of that test result. How do you do that? Well, you make a copy, put it in the binder, take the binder with you and hand the copy over to the school. It also is a way to increase your confidence. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of everything. We know life gets busy. We know specialists just seem to grow on trees. They're never around when we need them, but dang it all, once we get specialists going, they're like everywhere. Every little bit is a specialist. And so keeping track of all of them is kind of hard. So a care notebook gives us that confidence that we have everything in our place and we can access it. Continue to be a strong advocate and don't count on partners talking to each other. And so that still will always be a part for the family. Another thing that families tell us that they use a binder for and use a care notebook for is to keep track of different forms. The main one that they talk about is using the mileage forms. If you're on Medicaid or your child is on Medicaid, you can get reimbursed for mileage. And so there's forms. Of course, everybody has a form that you have to use. Not everything's online. But you can keep a copy of that form so you can fill it out then and there and send it in, or then transfer the information to the online portal. So it's really great to be able to keep track of your mileage, any other forms they may have to fill out for any medical equipment. And so again, it's this one place where you can have everything, access to everything that you might need. So what does a notebook look like? Well, a care notebook looks like anything you want it to. Families have used the 3-ring binders. They've used different folders. They've used accordion folders. And one of my beginnings of the journey, I went to a training on navigating special education, and they handed out this wonderful blue folder that I think I promptly put some things in and then lost. Because the next time I went, I also got another blue folder. The accordion folders I like because you can put labels on it, and so you know exactly where everything is. I'm not much of a tab person with a binder, so I did like the accordion folder a little bit better. There are also areas so you can set up online so you can access them. Of course, you want them to be password protected. Make sure that your child's health information is protected. There is a flash, you could also put it on a flash drive. People carry thumb drives around with them. Sometimes you run into issues with medical places allowing you to use their electric system, but their computer system, but sometimes they will have some place where you can then pull it up or you give it to them and they'll be able to do it. Anything that works for you. A lot of families will set it up so there's this shared plan of care, which we'll train about in January, but the shared plan of care is the nuts and bolts of what is currently happening with your child. So this is what they're being treated for. This is how they're being treated. These are their strengths. These are the goals that we are looking forward to. This is why we're doing healthcare. Again, going back to those goals that a family has, that a child has. And so that generally goes at the front because it can include, again, those ideas about strengths. And then also somewhere in there is you want to try to have a place for your resources because along the ways we know we collect things. We collect brochures, we collect business cards. Sometimes I just collect scraps of paper notes that I put down to try to remind me of something that I want to accomplish. So basically anything that's going to hold them. A couple of examples for you is that, let's say, to show the flexibility about how these can be used. Let's say like Mark and Ann use a binder. So Mark and Ann, because they have 3 girls who see various specialties, they have different school needs. And so they've chosen as a family that they keep 3 different binders, a different color for each child. So they have each child's information color coded in that binder so they can grab it as they needed it. Another family may have a son who's like in maybe 4K and they see specialists at Children's Hospital a few hours away and they see some specialists locally. His local medical home and Children's Hospital don't share the same electronic medical record. So they use an accordion file so that they can have the reports and the information from the specialists alongside their local medical home. So they can keep everything together and don't have to, because the places aren't able to share the information, they want to be able to have that information in one place. Now, virtual has some benefits, although you have to be very careful again about personal identifiable health information. But let's say that, Chewy may split his time between the homes of his father and his stepmom and his mom. So what his family has done is they've set up a secure folder that's out on the cloud. It's password protected, but they can keep track of things so that each parent, each caregiver can upload what happened at that appointment, so that they're not left in the dark. So they don't have, and also gives them the chance not to have multiple copies of things, and they have access to the most up-to-date information that each caregiver has. So that's a great way to share information. When we talk transition, sometimes when children are getting ready to go off to college, you may try to organize all the information on these child. If a child has had a lot of surgeries, that information they may want to know. They may not know all the surgeries they've had. So gathering that information. And if they have an idea about what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to, the do's and don'ts of their condition that they may want to share with the new doctors. Well, this is information that you can upload and put in a virtual folder so that when she needs it, she'll be able to access it. So it doesn't get lost. It's not kept back at home, but it's something that everybody has, that her and maybe her caregivers, with her permission, have access to. But that means it's not going to get lost somewhere, so that if she decides to register with Disability Services, it would have her latest evaluations. It would have her latest individual education plans in there and what accommodations. And that will help Disability Services to understand what accommodations she may need at college. So it can also be used sort of as that transition document. So families have told us that they use care notebooks to share with new specialists that they have in their life. They share with their school nurse or health aide. It's one of the ways that parents do use to communicate between the medical setting and the school setting, because sometimes, again, it's hard for those two places to talk to each other. Share with different therapists. I would love if you guys have any other ideas about where a care notebook would be useful. Feel free to put them into the chat. I would love to get some more ideas as well. But again, parents tell us that it helps them get organized. They take it to their appointments. When they take it with them, they feel like they have the information that they're going to need. The basic parts of a care notebook is, again, you want a business card holder somewhere. The 3-ring binder, make sure you have a 3-hole punch. Trust me, I tried to just put them in there and it always rips. You want your index tabs and then your labels for index tabs. And then accordion folders is slightly easier, but you want to make sure you have a sheet for those business cards and then labels for the different sections. What I want to do now is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. No, I'm not going to stop sharing my screen, but we're going to go out and we're going to look at some different examples. So on the medical homepage is a document that Family Voices have put together for us. Thank you, Jen. Jen is talking about how care notebooks, they can contain everything: the school IP meetings, the medical specialists, waiver meetings, respite providers. Oh my gosh, keeping track of respite providers and hours is another section that you could have in there for sure. So Family Voices has put together this idea of a care notebook. It contains a lot of stuff that we've already gone over, but I do want to show you, there's some definitions, but what I really like about this is some of the stuff they have back in the appendix. Okay, so they've compiled some forms. This is available through the Medical Home website or through the Family Voices website. And so they have a really easy, straightforward healthcare provider contact form that you can download and fill in. Especially, when you're thinking healthcare providers, I always like to think, okay, what are the days and the hours? And then what do I do after hours? What happens at, 8 o'clock at night? And I need to talk to my healthcare provider, what I'm supposed to do. And so that whole emergency care is really important. Sometimes we form better relationships with this one certain person on a care team. And we know that if we talk to them, they understand us, they listen to us. And so you may want to jot down who that is and how to get in touch with them. It's always good to have champions at your medical clinic, and I found it very valuable at school as well, to have those people that you can talk to. They know that we sometimes have multiple healthcare providers, and so there's a number of pages in there. They give a link to a form where you can track your medicine records. So if you have a child that, I know some children with ADHD will have a lot of trials to try to figure out what is the dosage that is going to be the best for that child. There's other conditions that also have this, we're looking for the dose. Well, it's important to track what we've tried and what you tried and what you haven't tried, and what the doses are that the doctor has tried, so that in case you go somewhere that they don't have access to that electronic medical records, you could sit there and go, you know what, we tried this dosage back 3 years ago. What is it about now that makes you think it's going to work any differently? And so keeping that track of the medicines, track of the doses, other important information there's a link out to that form as well. They give an example in here, but I would recommend going to the website and printing off your own. This one is a little blurry. The other area where this can really become useful is as your child grows up and you want to teach them about their disability, you also want to be teaching them about what are their medicines and what are their medicines supposed to do. Because we want our children to take as much charge of their healthcare as they can. Well, to do that, they need the knowledge. They need to know what the medicine is supposed to do so they know when it's not doing it anymore. And so you can utilize, as the child grows, you can utilize something like my medicine record to teach them about what is the medication that is helpful to them, what is the medication that they're taking in case of an emergency, so that when they turn 18, they have that knowledge to be able to know about the medicines, to know about their disability and how they're taking care of themselves. So this is a form that could also be used then in transition. And Jen says that she's also found it useful to include when the prescription doses change. Absolutely. That's something that I think is important to keep track of as well. Also, as part of the medicine record from the FDA is keeping track of the allergic reactions. Some people need a whole separate sheet for operations, depending on what the child's special health care need is. Give some good questions. And again, these could be great teaching tools as our children grow up and take charge of their own health care. So there's a lot more in here. But again, go to that link and check this out. I will also send the link to this out when I post the recording and the PowerPoint that I'll send to you guys as well. Insurance information. Yeah, it's great when you have a little insurance card. It's not great when you forget that little insurance card. And so you can use this as another place to have that insurance information. Or multiple insurance information. So this especially comes into play if you have Medicaid as a secondary insurance. So you can have a private health insurance and you could also be eligible for Medicaid. So in that case, your private insurance is your primary insurance. So everything's going to go to them first. But then you need to have the Medicaid information to cover what the primary insurance doesn't cover. And when they deny payment for something that they don't cover, then you have that denial to send into Medicaid so that Medicaid will cover it. So it's important if you have a couple insurances that you keep track of what all of them are. Some families use durable medical equipment, sometimes called DMEs. You may see that acronym. And so it's good to keep track, especially if you have multiple pieces of equipment, who has provided which piece of equipment, what is their contact number, who do you call in case it stops working? So all the information that you would need about your medical equipment supply companies. And of course, there could be families that have multiple durable medical equipment that they use. This also is a good place to write down, who are, if you talk to somebody at Wisconsin Facets, which are really knowledgeable about special education and the rights of parents in family education. Well, who did you talk to? What did you get out of that? When did you call them? This is also helpful to write down when you contacted the regional centers and what questions you may have asked your regional center. So you can go back and say, hey, last year we talked about this transition from birth to 3 into the early education system or into Head Start. And, I know we talked about that a couple of years ago. We have that handled now. We're going into primary school. What should I know now? And so you could keep track of the information as you get it from the different places. Again, if important if you find a good one, if you find someone who is like listening and open to working with you, it's important to keep that information down. They do include copies of some fact sheets that they put together. They keep their current ones updated on their website, but they have a fact sheet about finding the right doctor, what questions that you could ask a doctor when you're interviewing them if you have a child with special healthcare needs, along with some fact sheets about the mental health agencies as well. As we know, the mental health system is not working as well as it should. And so there are some ideas about how to find mental health care and questions to ask. They put together a fact sheet on questions to ask a health plan or insurance company. Make sure that what you're asking for is covered. If you're going to have a deductible or possibly a copay, insurance can get so befuddling that asking upfront before, if you're able to, if it's not an emergency, asking upfront, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to get covered. And then making sure that you're also keeping those summaries, the summary of benefits, because that's important I find it important in my life, is I like to keep the summary of benefits, and I hold on to that until I get the bill to make sure those two things match. Then they have one on what outcomes are, because we know that some services are only provided if you can provide a good outcome. So parents may get a question. So what is the outcome of you getting a fence? Which as a parent doesn't really make much sense to me, but as an agency, they might ask that question of you. And so how do you talk about this? This fact sheet helps us talk about how to use the agency's language about outcomes. And something about advocacy. And then there are resources. If you don't know about the Finding Your Way Navigation Guide, it's available online, as well as a downloadable PDF, as well as a print copy. If you're not familiar with the Finding Your Way Guide, it was formed by parents for parents to try to give people an idea about what is out there in the system of care that you may not think about, because we know that when you enter in one part of the system, you may not necessarily learn about the other parts of the system. So Find Your Way Guide is to try to introduce those different parts of the system. If you aren't familiar with it, or if you would like your own copy, a print copy, just put that into the chat. We will get it sent off to you. There is an example too of a shared plan of care that I talked about before. This is what a lot of families like to have first in their care notebook. It includes, see the emergency care information. But again, it starts with this about me. What are their strengths? What's their communication style? What do they like to be called? All these things that can make a visit go easier. Because the last thing we know as parents of children with special healthcare needs, few visits are easy. So anything that we can make it easier and go better and get done what needs to get done in that visit, then let's utilize those tools. And get it tries to bring all sorts of information together in one document, a multi-page document, but one document. And then what I was talking about before is the shared plan of care includes these negotiated actions. Who's going to do what and why? What are our goals? What are our medical goals for this person? And who's going to help us get there? And then we have the regional centers and some other main people there. So let's go back and just have a couple more examples of stuff that I want to show you. So this is the Children's Health Alliance of Wisconsin medical homepage. So this is where you'll go to if you click on the link that I put in the chat originally. This is the care notebook. So this is where you can get to the sample care notebook pages from Family Voices of Wisconsin. They also include, see if this will open up. They also include some, I talked a little bit about that, about me. And so I'm hoping everything's working here. So hopefully you see this page that says about me. It is fillable. You can just type right into it. But again, this is the sort of helping introduce your child to a new medical provider or an old medical provider that maybe doesn't know them that well. About who they are, what do they like, who are their pets, things that they want to share about themselves. That's all at the first part of the All About Me. And then you could get more into, if you want to use this then for, looking through what is it that I want this being about it. Sunny, thank you so much for being here. I'll send you all this stuff. Definitely want to connect more soon. Thank you so much for being here. I'll get this all sent out to you as well. So if you want to use this, you can set it up as an appointment focus sheet so that you have, because a lot of times we get to the doctors, we forget what it is that we're going to talk about. And so this gives us a way to write down the ideas about what it is that we want to talk about. So these are all available again on the website. And then the last thing is our partners up at the Northern Regional Center. If this is one that I didn't know would work. So they totally went overboard with their families, and I love it. So these aren't necessarily things you can get from anybody. So like Southern Regional Centers does not have these in stock, but they give a really great example of what a care binder could look like. A portable 3-hole punch that goes right into the binder, a sheet for business cards. They give you examples of what some front covers may look like. A lot of times it's just a picture of that kiddo that's on the cover. But what I really like is they have links then to other various forms that we can't go through everything tonight. But they do have those. So I wanted to make sure that you had that link as well. And I'll be sending those out to you guys after the training. So let me see if I can get back to where we were. Oh, the website. Let me see if I can pull it up again, and then I can put it into the chat. There we go. So Jen, that's the one from the Northern Regional Center. And they, like I said, they do a fantastic job. They used to be able to send these out to families. If there is a need for that, let me know, and we will work with you to get you what you need for your family. And in terms of the notebook and accordion files, we can work something out. So there is time for questions, but I just want to cover really quickly that we will have a training on what a shared plan of care is. Basically, it includes the medical summary, information about the important people, those goals in the plans, and then, of course, an emergency action plan. What do you do in case of an emergency? We also will do a training on care mapping. Care mapping is a visual way to show the people the services that your family has. It's a great visual to use to share with school, to share with the family, share with anybody who's on the care map, so they understand that they're not the only game in town. So they get to understand a little bit about the intricacies and the complexities of having a child with special health care needs. Again, I'll send this out to you so that you have more, but I would love it if you would be able to, at some point, either tonight, I don't know what happened there, hang on. Yep, that's just not working the way that I wanted it to. But there is that REDCap link. I'll send this to you. Don't need to worry about it tonight, but it'd be great if you could go in and just do it's a very short evaluation, so that we know if this is worth doing more of. So I'm going to stop sharing. Now it's the two of us. You do not, I understand about families and stuff, so don't worry about it. But any questions that you may have, that was a lot of information in a short period of time, but I hope it gives you an overview about how a care notebook can help, how the different parts may work together, and where you may be able to utilize it, as well as, again, I'll send you the PowerPoint so that you will have the resources at hand.